I never imagined that a single dare could change everything about me. My name is Liam, I'm 22, and I've always been, well, careful. Careful about how I act, what I say, and most importantly, who sees the real me. Crossdressing had always been my secret, a hidden passion I explored only when I was alone. No one at university, no one in my circle of friends, not even my roommate, knew that under my normal clothes, I sometimes longed to feel the softness of a skirt against my skin, the thrill of delicate fabrics, or the confidence that came from seeing a transformed version of myself in the mirror. It all started one lazy Friday afternoon. My crush, Chloe, the most outgoing and fearless girl in our class, had cornered me after a group study session. Chloe was tall, confident, and utterly irresistible, the kind of person who seemed untouchable. She had this way of teasing everyone, pushing boundaries, yet somehow making you feel alive in the process. "Liam," she said, flashing that mischievous grin of hers, "I dare you." I froze, my stomach tightening. I had a bad feeling about this. "Dare me?" I asked cautiously. "Yeah," she replied, eyes twinkling with challenge. "I dare you to try on my skirt. Just once. Come on, it'll be fun. No one will see, promise." My mind spun. Her skirt? Chloe's skirt was short, flowy, perfect in every way I had secretly imagined. My pulse raced, and heat flooded my face. The thrill of her dare, combined with my hidden desire, made my hands shake. I don't know, I stammered, trying to resist the temptation. But Chloe's grin widened. "Oh, come on. Don't tell me you're scared. You've been hinting at this for weeks." Weeks. She had noticed. Somehow, she had seen through the carefully constructed walls I'd built. My heart pounded as I realized the truth. I couldn't back out. My desire, my secret, my fantasy, it was all wrapped up in this moment. Before I knew it, I had accepted. Chloe led me to her dorm room, closed the door, and handed me the skirt. "Just try it on. That's all. No pressure." I took the skirt, trembling slightly, and slipped behind the door to change. As I stepped into it, feeling the soft fabric against my legs, a shiver ran through me. It was like stepping into another world, a world where my desires weren't hidden, where I could be free. My pulse raced as I smoothed the skirt, adjusting it just as I had imagined 1,000 times in secret. Chloe peeked through the door, smirking. "Wow. Not bad, actually, you look good." I froze, a mix of embarrassment and excitement washing over me. Her words were validation I hadn't expected, and suddenly the thrill of the dare became intoxicating. I caught my reflection in her mirror. There I was, Liam, yet somehow not entirely me. The skirt had changed more than just my appearance. It had unlocked something inside me I couldn't ignore. From that moment, I couldn't stop thinking about the skirt. It wasn't just Chloe's skirt. It was a symbol of freedom, a key to exploring a side of myself I had kept hidden. At first, I only wore it when I knew no one would see. Alone in my room, the soft fabric against my skin, I felt alive in a way I never had before. Every fold, every sway, every movement was a secret thrill. But secrets are hard to keep. The more I wore the skirt, the more I wanted to push boundaries. I experimented, pairing it with different tops, adding subtle touches of makeup, trying heels when I dared. Each time I looked in the mirror, I saw a version of myself I hadn't allowed to exist in the outside world. A version that was confident, bold, and utterly feminine. Yet, along with the thrill came fear. What if someone found out? What if Chloe told someone, or worse, what if I got caught by my roommates or classmates? The adrenaline mixed with shame and excitement in ways I couldn't untangle. Every rustle of fabric, every glance in my reflection, was a delicate dance between desire and risk. And Chloe, she had a way of keeping the game alive. She would tease, dare, or leave subtle hints that kept me on edge. One day she'd mention the skirt in passing, another time she'd smirk knowingly when she caught me staring. It was a game, but one that blurred the lines between friendship, attraction, and obsession. Now, sitting in my dorm, the skirt folded neatly on my bed, I knew something had shifted. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Not just the skirt itself, but the person it helped me become. Miss Liam, I thought to myself, the name barely forming in my mind but feeling so real. I realized then that this was more than a dare. This was the beginning of a journey, one of transformation, secrecy, and self-discovery. A journey that would test my courage, my desires, and ultimately, who I really was underneath it all. And for better or worse, I had already taken the first step. The days following Chloe's dare were a whirlwind of exhilaration, guilt, and secrecy. Every moment I could steal alone became an opportunity to explore the side of myself I had long suppressed. The skirt wasn't just a piece of clothing anymore. It was a symbol of freedom, an escape, and a thrill that I could not resist. In the quiet of my dorm room, I began to experiment. I paired the skirt with different tops from my wardrobe, trying to imagine how I would look to someone else, how confident or exposed I might appear. The thrill of this secret act coursed through me every time I adjusted the hem, smoothed the fabric, or balanced myself in the slight sway of the skirt. One evening, alone while my roommate was at a late class, I pulled Chloe's skirt from the drawer, slipping into it slowly. The fabric brushed against my legs, soft and delicate, and I felt a shiver of excitement. I caught my reflection in the mirror and froze. Liam, the careful, reserved guy everyone knew, stared back at me, but somehow different. Softer, feminine, vulnerable, yet confident. I couldn't look away. I began to explore accessories next. A simple necklace, the faintest hint of eyeliner, and a pair of flats borrowed from a friend's forgotten bag. Each addition added layers to the persona I was creating. My reflection became a ritual. I would stare, adjust, and practice the posture, the gestures, the subtle tilt of my head that made me feel, for the first time, like I could step into another identity. Yet, with every thrill came a sharp undercurrent of fear. What if someone walked in? What if Chloe, or, worse, my roommate discovered me in this state? The tension added a delicious edge to the experience, turning simple acts into high-stakes performances. I felt alive in a way I hadn't imagined possible. Every heartbeat, every nervous glance toward the door, heightened the sensation. Chloe, of course, knew exactly what she was doing. She would casually mention the skirt when we were together, her teasing tones sending sparks of anxiety and excitement through me. One day she said, "I almost wonder if you're secretly enjoying it too much," flashing that signature smirk. My face burned, but I couldn't deny it. She had awakened something inside me, and the thrill was intoxicating. I felt my cheeks flush, unsure whether he meant the outfit, the demeanor, or something more. Every word carried weight, and I struggled to suppress the mix of embarrassment and thrill. The first call came quickly, and I fumbled slightly with the headset, my hands trembling. Emma's earlier encouragement echoed in my mind. "If you believe it, everyone else will too." I took a deep breath, straightened my posture, and answered with a calm, measured tone. "Good morning, this is Alex speaking. How may I assist you?" The caller was polite, unaware of my internal turmoil. As the conversation continued, I began to feel a strange confidence, a sense of control despite the vulnerability of my appearance. Each click of the keyboard, each smile offered to a visitor, reinforced the persona I had crafted. By midday, I felt like a different person, not just cross-dressing physically, but inhabiting a new identity, one that blended poise, charm, and hidden thrill. Yet, the tension never fully left me. Every glance from a coworker, every whisper from a visitor, kept my heart hammering. I was performing a delicate balance, maintaining professionalism while navigating the uncharted territory of living publicly as someone I had always kept secret. Emma's voice in my memory gave me courage, and yet her presence lingered like a shadow. I wondered what she would say if she were here, seeing me navigate this world she had indirectly guided me into. The thought made me shiver with excitement and fear. By the afternoon, the office had become a stage for a game I had never intended to play. A visitor approached, smiling politely, and I responded with practiced charm. My reflection in the glass behind the reception desk caught my eye. Alex, or rather Miss Alex, poised, composed, and entirely captivating. A sudden knock on the main door startled me, and my heart leapt. It was a client, early for a meeting, and I had only moments to adjust my posture, smooth my skirt, and ensure every movement exuded the persona I had been cultivating. I greeted them with a warm smile, my voice steady despite the rapid thudding of my heart. The client's eyes lingered just a second too long, and I felt a flicker of panic. Could they tell? Did they notice the subtle thrill of my hidden identity? I fought to maintain composure, reminding myself that this was part of the transformation, a challenge that tested my confidence, poise, and secrecy simultaneously. The day passed in a blur of calls, visitors, and careful interactions. Every glance, every compliment, every subtle comment added to the tension, reinforcing the precariousness of my situation. By the end of my shift, my legs ached from the heels, and my cheeks burned from forced smiles and constant vigilance, but beneath it all was a simmering sense of exhilaration. I returned home that evening, collapsing on the bed, still dressed, still fully in the persona that had carried me through the day. Emma was waiting, her eyes shining with curiosity and approval. "So," she asked softly, "how did it feel?" I hesitated, searching for the words. "It was terrifying," I admitted, "but also incredible. I felt powerful in a way I never imagined. Everyone called me Miss, and it felt right." Emma smiled, leaning close. "I knew you could do it, but this is just the beginning. Tomorrow it gets even more interesting." Her words sent a shiver down my spine. I realized then that I was not just filling in as a receptionist. I was stepping into a world that blurred the lines between fear and excitement, secrecy and exposure, reality and transformation. And I couldn't wait to see where it would take me next. The next morning, I woke earlier than usual, still feeling the adrenaline from my first day as the office's temporary receptionist. My reflection in the mirror caught me off guard. Alex, fully transformed, poised, and undeniably captivating. I ran a hand through my hair, adjusting the style Emma had suggested, and smoothed the blouse over my chest. The heels waited patiently by the bed, silent reminders of the challenge that lay ahead. Emma had left a note on my pillow. "Remember, every glance is part of the game. Play it well." Her words sent a shiver down my spine, but I smiled despite the nervous knots in my stomach. She had made this more than a job. It was a test, a journey, and somehow a tease that left me craving more. At the office, I felt every eye on me, though no one directly commented. The receptionist's desk had become a stage, the office floor a theater, and I was both performer and audience. Each movement was calculated, every gesture purposeful. I greeted coworkers and clients with practiced smiles, my heels clicking against the polished floor. It was a delicate dance. One misstep could unravel the persona I had painstakingly built. By mid-morning, the first challenge arrived. A visiting client, an older gentleman with piercing eyes, approached the desk. His gaze lingered on me, subtle but unmistakable, and I felt the familiar flutter of panic mixed with excitement. My palms sweated slightly as I offered a greeting, my voice steady but soft. "Good morning, sir. How may I assist you today?" I asked, my posture straight, shoulders back. He smiled, a knowing glint in his eyes. You're the new receptionist. Everyone said you're quite impressive." My heart raced. Impressive? The word echoed, mingling with my internal fear. Did he see through the careful construction of my persona? Could he tell the secret I had guarded so fiercely? I forced a polite smile, managing a nod, and guided him toward the waiting area, all while silently praying my composure would hold. The rest of the day was a blur of calls, scheduling, and delicate interactions. Every glance from coworkers felt magnified, every whispered conversation a potential threat. I realized that the office had become a minefield, and I was tiptoeing through it, heels clicking with every uncertain step. Then came an unexpected visitor, Linda, a colleague from another department I had barely spoken to. She leaned against the reception desk, pretending casual curiosity. "Wow. Alex, you look different today," she said, eyes sparkling with intrigue. I barely recognized you. Are you trying something new? I froze for a heartbeat, unsure how to respond. Different? New? Words I had dreaded, now directed at me with genuine interest. I forced a smile. Just temporary, I said lightly, hoping my voice sounded casual. Filling in as receptionist, Linda tilted her head, a playful smirk tugging at her lips. Well, you're doing a great job. Definitely eye-catching. My cheeks burned. Her gaze, though friendly, carried a subtle undertone that made me acutely aware of every inch of my appearance. The blush in my chest mixed with an odd thrill. I was being noticed, acknowledged, perhaps even admired. And yet, the risk was undeniable. One slip, one careless word, and my secret could unravel. The tension continued to build throughout the day. Every phone call, every visitor, every casual compliment from coworkers reminded me of the precariousness of my situation. My internal struggle grew sharper. The thrill of being seen, of embodying this new persona, clashed violently with the fear of exposure and judgment. During a quiet moment, I caught my reflection in the glass of the front entrance. The person staring back wasn't just Alex. It was someone entirely new, confident, composed, undeniably feminine. The heels added height, the blouse framed my shoulders and chest perfectly, and the skirt emphasized curves I had only ever explored in private. A shiver ran through me. I was performing, yes, but I was also becoming. As the afternoon dragged on, Emma's subtle influence lingered in my mind. Her teasing words from yesterday, "Play it well, every glance is part of the game," had transformed into a mantra I silently repeated, guiding my every movement and glance. I realized I was no longer just completing a job. I was navigating a delicate, high-stakes performance, balancing professional duties with a thrill of personal revelation. By the end of the day, my legs ached from the heels, my cheeks burned from forced smiles, and my mind was a whirl of emotions: fear, excitement, pride, and a deep, intoxicating vulnerability. Yet beneath it all was a growing realization. I could no longer go back to the way things were. The experience had opened a door I didn't know I wanted to cross, and once opened, it refused to close. Returning home, I found Emma waiting, a mischievous glint in her eyes. "Well," she asked, leaning against the doorframe, "how was your first real test?" I exhaled slowly, collapsing onto the bed, still in the outfit that had carried me through hours of scrutiny. It was terrifying, I admitted, but also exhilarating. Everyone called me Miss, even my coworkers. It felt right, but I'm scared of what happens if someone notices the secret. Emma smiled, brushing a strand of hair from my face. "Good. That means you're alive, aware, and growing. And don't worry, tomorrow, the stakes get higher." Her words sent a ripple of fear and anticipation through me. I realized that this temporary assignment had become something much more than a simple job. It was a test, a challenge, and a journey into a world I had never dared explore. And I had only just begun. By midweek, the office had settled into a curious rhythm, but for me, each day felt like walking a tightrope. I had grown more comfortable in my persona, Miss Alex, but comfort brought its own dangers. The thrill of being seen, of being admired subtly, sharpened the stakes. Every glance, every passing comment, was a potential minefield. That morning, a senior client arrived unexpectedly, demanding to see Mr. Harrison immediately. I froze for a split second, then remembered Emma's advice. Every glance is part of the game. Play it well. I straightened my back, adjusted the skirt, and greeted him with a confident smile. "Good morning, sir," I said, voice steady. "Mr. Harrison is currently in a meeting, but I can take a message or assist you." The client studied me intently, his eyes flicking to my heels, then to my carefully styled hair, and back to my face. My stomach twisted with fear. Was I too convincing? Too feminine? Too alluring? "I suppose a message will do," he said finally, but the way he lingered with his gaze made my cheeks burn. I typed the details quickly, trying to remain composed, all while feeling exposed under his watchful eyes. After he left, I leaned back in my chair, exhaling shakily. My pulse had raced, and my mind buzzed with a mixture of panic and thrill. This was becoming more than a simple receptionist role. It was a high-stakes game of control, image, and secrecy. Then the unexpected happened. Linda, my playful coworker from another department, returned, this time with a small group of colleagues. "Alex, you've really transformed," she exclaimed, her voice teasing but filled with admiration. "We barely recognized you. You're perfect for this role." The words were both a compliment and a subtle warning. Everyone was noticing. Every movement I made, every word I spoke, was now being scrutinized by multiple people at once. The internal conflict intensified. On one hand, I felt an exhilarating sense of validation. On the other, I feared exposure. How long could I maintain the act before someone discovered the truth? The afternoon brought another challenge. A colleague accidentally spilled a cup of coffee near my desk. My reflexes kicked in, guiding me to steady the cup and prevent a mess. The quick, fluid movements, paired with my feminine attire, drew appreciative glances from nearby coworkers. I felt a flush of embarrassment and pride simultaneously. I was performing in a live environment, navigating both the responsibilities of the role and the complexities of my crossdressing persona. As the day progressed, I noticed subtle shifts in how people interacted with me. Male coworkers addressed me with a polite deference they hadn't shown before, while female colleagues offered curious smiles, some playful, others probing. Each interaction was a test, a potential exposure, a small thrill that made my pulse spike. By evening, exhaustion mixed with exhilaration had taken its toll. I slipped into the restroom to touch up my makeup, examining my reflection carefully. Miss Alex stared back, a composed, confident, striking figure. The transformation was no longer superficial. It had seeped into my posture, my expressions, and my demeanor. Every line of my body, every flick of my hair, every curve accentuated by the skirt and blouse, radiated a new identity. Emma's voice echoed in my mind again. "Play it well. Every glance is part of the game." The memory of her encouragement fueled my confidence, even as the tension of potential discovery gnawed at me. The thrill was addictive, and I realized I was no longer simply performing. I was living it, embracing it, and being exhilarated by the risk. But as I left the office that evening, a sinking feeling settled in my stomach. I had maintained my secret so far, but I knew the danger was increasing. Each day, each interaction, each compliment brought me closer to the edge. The persona I had cultivated was powerful, magnetic, and fragile all at once. Walking home, the city lights blurred past, and I felt a strange, intoxicating mix of fear, anticipation, and exhilaration. I knew tomorrow would bring new challenges, unexpected encounters, and perhaps even exposure. And I was ready to face them, even if it meant walking further into danger, deeper into the thrilling uncertainty of living as Miss Alex. The day began like any other, but I could sense an undercurrent of something different, something more dangerous. My heels clicked against the polished office floor as I approached the reception desk, heart hammering with a mixture of anticipation and dread. The persona of Miss Alex was now second nature, but the fragility of the secret weighed on me more than ever. Each glance from coworkers, each subtle comment, felt magnified, like a countdown ticking closer to a potential disaster. By mid-morning, the first real challenge arrived, an unexpected visit from a high-profile client. Mr. Harrison had given no warning, and suddenly, I found myself alone at the front desk, fully visible, every inch of my transformation on display. My palms sweated as I adjusted my skirt, smoothed the blouse, and tried to steady my voice. "Good morning, sir," I greeted, trying to sound confident. "How may I assist you today?" The client's eyes lingered on me longer than necessary. I felt a flicker of panic. Did he see through the carefully constructed facade? My heart raced as I guided him to the waiting area, maintaining polite conversation while internally calculating every move, every word. Then, disaster struck. My heels caught on the edge of the reception mat, and I stumbled slightly, sending a ripple of alarm through my chest. The client's eyes widened, and I could feel my face burning. I caught myself just in time, steadying my balance, but the moment had left a tremor in my confidence. Every step from that point felt precarious. Every gesture weighted with the potential for exposure. Adding to the tension, Linda appeared again, this time leaning over the desk with a playful smirk. "Careful there, Miss Alex. You're looking flawless, but those heels tricky, aren't they?" Her words were teasing, but I could sense the subtle undertone of suspicion. Did she suspect something? Was she trying to test me? I forced a polite smile, my pulse hammering, aware that even the smallest misstep could unravel everything I had built. By noon, the office was buzzing with activity, and I found myself juggling phone calls, visitors, and emails, all while maintaining the delicate balance of my persona. The constant scrutiny was exhausting, but the thrill of managing it, of keeping my secret intact under such pressure, was intoxicating. Then came the unexpected twist, the call that would escalate everything. Mr. Harrison approached, his expression unusually serious. "Alex, I need you to cover a client meeting this afternoon," he said, eyes sharp. "It's impromptu, and you'll be the first point of contact. Can you handle it?" I swallowed hard. "Yes, sir," I managed, though my stomach twisted with fear. A client meeting meant direct exposure, close interaction, and the possibility of discovery. I had managed the front desk, but a formal meeting was uncharted territory. The hours leading up to the meeting were a whirlwind of preparation and anxiety. I adjusted my outfit repeatedly, rehearsed polite greetings in my mind, and even practiced subtle gestures to maintain poise. Every tick of the clock intensified the suspense. When the client finally arrived, I felt my pulse hammering in my ears. The meeting began smoothly, but the stakes escalated quickly. The client, charismatic and observant, engaged me in conversation, probing for details about the company, my role, and, subtly, my personal demeanor. Each response had to be measured, polished, and consistent with the persona of Miss Alex. The slightest slip, a mispronounced word, or a hesitation could reveal the secret I had guarded so fiercely. Then the unthinkable happened. A coworker accidentally knocked over a stack of files near the reception desk, causing a loud crash that echoed through the office. I jumped, my balance faltering slightly in my heels. The client's eyes widened, and my face burned with panic. I steadied myself, heart racing, and forced a smile. But the tension didn't stop there. Linda, ever curious, appeared at the edge of the room, her gaze lingering a moment too long. I could sense her questioning glance, the subtle hint of suspicion. My mind raced. Should I act casual? Or was it too late? Every interaction now carried immense weight. As the meeting progressed, the client complimented my poise, my professionalism, and, subtly, my appearance. Each compliment sent a shiver down my spine, thrill mixed with fear. I was navigating a delicate dance, balancing admiration, secrecy, and vulnerability. Then came the symbolic moment that would define the climax. As I reached to hand the client a folder, my blouse shifted slightly, and a strap slipped off my shoulder. Panic surged. Would they notice? Would this small accident expose the persona I had cultivated? My heart raced as I quickly adjusted it, forcing a calm smile, but the adrenaline coursing through me was undeniable. Every second felt like an eternity. The meeting concluded with polite applause and handshakes, but I felt drained, exhilarated, and terrified all at once. I had survived the close call, maintained my secret, and navigated the high-stakes interaction, but I knew the danger was far from over. By the end of the day, the office was quiet, yet the tension lingered. Each glance, each comment, each subtle gesture had been a test, a challenge that pushed me to my limits. I had maintained composure under immense pressure, but the emotional and physical strain was palpable. Returning home, I collapsed onto the bed, heels still on, skirt slightly wrinkled, and blouse slightly askew. My body trembled from exhaustion, my mind racing with the events of the day. Emma appeared, a soft smile on her lips, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. "You made it through," she said, brushing a strand of hair from my face. How does it feel? I exhaled shakily, unable to speak immediately. Terrifying, exhilarating, everything at once. I don't know how I did it, but I survived. And yet, I feel like the next challenge will be even bigger. Emma leaned close, whispering, "Good. Because this is just the beginning. And soon, everyone will know your name. Everyone will call you Miss." Her words sent a shiver through me. I realized then that the climax of this journey was not just about surviving a day at the office. It was about stepping fully into a world of exposure, thrill, and transformation, where each choice carried immense emotional weight. And I was ready, despite the fear, to embrace whatever came next.